I can run through the table now and you guys can see it on your screen down below just to tell. Obviously, Gab and Conor. Two teams finished with 100 points. Hello guys, welcome back to The Sportsman Untitled. Got a really exciting show for you coming up today, and I'm joined by Gab Sutton as always, and Conor McGilligan, Leeds United expert, is here to give us his views as well. What we're going to do today, later in the show, is predict every single championship result from now until the end of the season. A little international break special for you, and we're going to come up with that final league table. We're going to find out how it looks. Are Leeds United gonna bottle it? Conor looking very, very nervous in the corner there. But Gab, let's start with a bit of reaction to the weekend. I think headline news, probably Sheffield derby, isn't it? Sheffield United, another win. Chris Wilder back on top.
Absolutely. I think real spirit shown from Sheffield United and the resilience they showed to come out on top. And they do seem to have this habit of consistently edging out tight games, Sheffield United. That must be very frustrating if you're a Leeds United fan or a Burnley fan, because Leeds still seem to be able to accumulate points without necessarily dominating the opposition. And again, it's thanks to Michael Cooper, who I think you'd have to say is on a par with James Trafford in terms of the best goalkeepers in the Championship.
Absolutely sensational couple of saves, wasn't it? And Conor, you must be getting more and more frustrated as the weeks go by as Sheffield United keep on grinding out these wins.
Yeah, we're just talking about off air. I think it's 15 wins by one goal. And it just feels inevitable with them at the minute. We've got a little bit of a running joke at the minute with a couple of friends I've got that it's like 1-0 Tyrese Campbell. But now obviously Ryan Bruce has got involved in it as well. But once again, not playing well. They don't really play well. They're not a glamorous side. I'd say their best performance this season so far, and I think they'd admit it, was a 3-1 against Borough. Aside from that, aside from a 35-minute spell against Leeds, they've not been great in a lot of the games. But they are just inevitable at the minute, and he's done a fantastic job, and they've done a fantastic job with all the sort of problems they had at the start of the season with players leaving. So, yeah, they're a problem. They're a big problem.
How perfect is Chris Wilder, though, as a manager? We saw the scenes after the game. He just is Sheffield United, isn't he, Gab?
I think he's just perfect. Like, nobody encapsulates what the Still City derbies are all about better than Chris Wilder, because he's absolutely hated by Sheffield Wednesday fans. But I think almost Wednesday had to almost enjoy being able to hate an opposition manager that much, because I think with Danny Röhl at Sheffield Wednesday, I don't think that this is the pinnacle for him. I think the pinnacle for Danny Röhl can be winning a World Cup with Germany or winning a Champions League with Bayern Munich. I think he's got the potential to go on and achieve massive things. Whereas I think for Chris Wilder, the pinnacle is a Steel City derby. This is everything that he sort of set out to do in his career, really, to manage Sheffield United to win these kind of games, and you can see the emotion in him, and I think he almost enjoyed. He had a bit of a welcome committee when the Sheffield United team bus came up at Hillsborough, and I think he almost enjoys that side of the game, and you could see in his 16-minute interview where very little of it was actually talking about the game, and he was talking about the history of the rivalry between two fabulous Sheffield clubs. So I think these Steel City derbies are better for people like, whether Wednesdayites would necessarily agree with that, but I think they're better with people like Chris Wilder in them.
Absolutely. Such an entertainer as well. If you can hear an alarm in the background, we apologise for that. Nothing we can do. Alarm bells ringing at Leeds as well, Conor.
Oh, nice. I don't know, I think it's 5 points in 12 at the minute. Not been ideal. It's not, obviously the seasonal average has dropped off a little bit. We naturally are reverting back to last season, as everybody, the general sphere is doing as well. At this point last season, I think Leeds were on 82, Leicester were on 81, I think Ipswich were on 81 as well. So obviously now it's split very narrowly. But what I will say is there was a good little introduction of Willie Gnonto at last in the number 10. Brendan Aronson leaving that number 10 role after another assist at the weekend for QPR this time. But yeah, disappointing at the weekend. What I will say is a lot of people are talking about the 12:30 kickoffs. I don't think it's a 12:30 kickoff. Obviously, Leeds have won 2 in 14 at 12:30, but I think it's more toward, I don't know, the intensity towards away performances. Leeds haven't got a glamorous away record, only winning 8 this season in 19. So I think that's more of the problem now. It's getting that sort of intensity right for these away games. At home, we've got those 2 wins at 12:30 at home, recently to Sheffield Wednesday as well. But there's just something going on away from home again. It feels like we're kind of slipping back into that mould at the start of the season, before Coventry, before Watford, before Stoke, before Derby, where we're getting into that sort of phase again.
Do you think there's an element, Conor, to which at home you're able to have most of the game, of the 95+% of the game on your terms pretty much, where maybe the goalkeeper doesn't get tested as much, whereas away from home it might not be 5% that's not on your terms, it might be more like 25 or 30% that's kind of not on your terms, and therefore there's more of a scope for the opposition to test the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and like Millwall midweek, Leeds started really quickly, and that first goal, I genuinely believe a lot of these games that we might have struggled in, if you get that early goal, I think the opposition are in big trouble, because notoriously we start getting stronger and stronger and stronger. They're a little bit more comfortable. The pressure's not on as such. But yeah, it does feel like away from home at the minute there is a little bit of a stumbling block. I'm sort of a little bit questioning why Portsmouth, why QPR, nothing to play for, why they're coming out in the first 30, 35 minutes. And it's almost a next level. They're going for the playoffs. They're going for the top 2. And we're sort of a little bit slumped. I don't understand what that is. We've got something to play for. We've got promotion to the Premier League to play for. So that needs to dramatically increase. And there's no real excuses there at the minute for me.
Could have been worse. You were 2-0 down, a little bit of a fight back. How worried are you about Leeds right now in terms of their title hopes?
Well, it's about top 2, isn't it? It's not necessarily about the title at this stage. I think really interested to see how Willy Gnonto finishes the season, because we went into the previous campaign, Willy Gnonto was talked about as being Leeds United's star player. It didn't actually pan out that way. It turned out that Crescencio Somerville and Jorginho Ruta were Leeds' star players, and Willy Gnonto was a bit more in and out, if it used the unfortunate term. But I think... I think he's somebody who has got that bit of individual quality and could make a difference in the last quarter of the campaign.
Absolutely, and we'll do our predictions soon and see whether we do have Leeds United going up or falling into those dreaded playoffs. Another massive result at the bottom, Gab. I'll come to you again on this one. Plymouth 2, Derby 3. 3 wins in a row for John Eustace. He has got that team flying. Plymouth probably down now?
It's looking like a huge ask, isn't it, for Plymouth Argyle? I think just that defensively, they looked like they'd improved in the first few games after Muslich came in. They had that FA Cup victory over Liverpool, 1 or 2 really big league wins even. Got Leeds on the mind there. 1 or 2 really big league wins where you thought the likes of Talavierov and Kostic would make a real impact. But I think more recently they've looked very disorganised, especially against Sheffield Wednesday a couple of weeks ago, especially against Derby. And I think if you're going into the last quarter of the season without those defensive foundations, that's worry. Whereas to flip that on its head, I think Derby County have looked really well drilled over the last few games. They did lose 4-0 at QPR in Eustace's first game, but since he's had full weeks to prepare his side, he seems to have made those count, and Matt Clark has been imperious at the back for the Rams.
It was only a couple of weeks ago that we were talking about maybe the bottom 3 getting cut adrift. Connor, now Stoke and Cardiff linger just kind of 1 point above the drop zone. 4 points separate 17th and 22nd. It feels like the relegation battle is kind of alive and kicking.
Yeah, it is, and I think last time we were here it was doomsday really for Bloomfield and Luton. They've picked up a little bit as well, and this is kind of what always happens, isn't it? It always happens at this stage of the season where notoriously you get the bottom 3, bottom 4 fighting as if they are. And I bet you look at the form table right now, and I bet we could do that. Maybe the producer can put something on screen. But if you look at the form table right now, I guarantee you've got a fair few of them in the top 10 right now. And it's, you do look at Stoke, and all of a sudden it's getting a little bit hairy for them, especially with Hull's form, which has been pretty decent.
Unfortunate to lose late on Stoke this weekend. Bit of a questionable penalty call for me at Millwall. Thanks for bringing us on to the Championship form table, because it's something I'm more than happy to look at this moment in time. Coventry sit top, Burnley, Sheffield United, Bristol City in there as well as we expect. But as you say, Derby, Portsmouth, the teams that maybe you don't expect at this stage of the season, really climbing into that top half. Gab, let's talk about Sunderland. Hammered by Coventry at the weekend. Just looks second best, really, all over the pitch. I think there's something to be said about Sunderland almost having this Middlesbrough vibe of a couple of seasons ago. Everyone knows they're going to finish 4th. They're 10 points clear. They've got nothing to play for, and it almost seems like the players kind of know that, and now Lebris is kind of struggling to hit the heights that he did a couple of months ago, where they were maybe challenging the likes of Leeds and Burnley for automatic promotion.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that they're now 11 points off the top two, and I think it's 13th above 7th. So I think it looks very likely that that 3-0 defeat to Coventry was possibly a dress rehearsal for maybe a playoff semi-final first leg at the CBS. So I think that could be the direction of travel. And maybe there is a motivation aspect where Sunderland, they've got to make sure that they get a bit of form going back, because they're going to need a bit of that confidence going into the playoffs. But they've been without one or two key players recently. They've been without Enzo Lefebvre. We saw how good he was in that 3-2 victory at Middlesbrough very soon after he signed in January. So I think, I think him coming back is going to make a difference. And they seem to have they've done extremely well this season, given that they've had lots of players who have been sort of on and off with injuries, have not really had a full squad. So that's been difficult for Regis Lebris. But still a great season, if not quite at the heights that I was anticipating.
Still a good shout, a very good shout. And Conor, sorry to do this to you, but the prospect of potentially coming up against Frank Lampard in the playoffs, maybe?
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
A little bit.
No, we don't want that again. Playoffs and Leeds United are not, they don't go together well. It's not a good connection. But there's a few of them, Sheffield United in the playoffs, terrible as well. Sunderland, albeit they've done all right in a recent one, haven't they? But not got a great history in the playoffs. And Leeds are another one, really. But yeah, Frank Lampard in the playoffs. Just quick answer, no.
Gab, right. Corner of concern this week, coming at you a bit earlier than usual. Who are you a bit worried about this week?
Yeah, slightly concerned about Norwich City in the sense that it's 1 win in 8. Again, we've spoken about Sunderland being a bit on and off with injuries. I think Norwich, it's been the same, where they've struggled to have their best 11 fit. More, for a period they were without Josh Sargent, which didn't help them. More recently, they've struggled to get their best choice midfield together, and I think that's something they're going to hope to have a bit more fortune with next season. I'm still really excited about what Johannes Hoff-Torp can do as head coach, because I do think he's got a lot of talent. But they've not quite been able to hit the levels of consistency they'd hoped for, but I still think that the development of players like Kellen Fisher, Lucien Mahovo, there's some really talented players coming through the academy at Norwich City, and they're going to be hoping to use this season as a platform for better things.
Can't help but feel it's a bit of a missed opportunity when you think Sargent's probably going to be moving on in the summer. Surely a club's going to come in for him.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, Sainz is another one as well. The amount of goals he's put away this season. Marcelino Nunes, they've got a lot of talent, a raft of talent at Norwich, and I had them as a bit of an insight, an outside shout, I should say, for the playoffs. They always seemed to get in there. Last season under Wagner as well, when they weren't playing well, they managed to get in a some would argue a better league standard last season. Yeah, it's been a weird one for Norwich, a real weird one this season with the calibre of player they've got, and I don't know.
Would you have Sargent at Leeds, Conor?
No.
Okay.
No, well, it depends what we're talking about. We're talking about Championship Leeds or Premier League Leeds. I guess that's the question right now. I think, you go up, and I'd be looking at someone with the greatest of respect, with a bit of a higher quality than Josh Sargent if Leeds are to stay in the Premier League, if we are to get promoted.
Yeah.
Big if.
Got to get there first, and that brings us nicely on to our predictions. We're going to try and rattle through all of the results from now until the end of the season. We'll do one each, just go round, maybe do a little explanation why, but we don't have too much time, Gab, so I'll bring you on to the first fixture, which is Sheffield United versus Coventry at Bramall Lane.
1-1.
1-1. Okay. Watford Plymouth, Conor.
2-2.
Hull Luton. I'll do 1-1 for that. Another draw. Maybe we need to get off the fence a bit here. Sunderland Millwall, Gab. There you go.
Sunderland Millwall. 2-1.
Okay. Cardiff Wednesday, Conor.
2-1 Cardiff.
Big result. Burnley Bristol City. Oh, that's a big game, isn't it? First game back. I'll go 2-0 Burnley, even though Bristol City have been in good form. Borough Oxford, Gab.
0-0.
Leeds Swansea.
2-0 Leeds.
Confident, like it. Norwich West Brom. Let's go for a draw there as well. 2-2. Portsmouth Blackburn.
Portsmouth Blackburn. 2-1.
Good home form at Fratton Park. Stoke QPR.
0-1.
Oof, that's damaging, isn't it?
Damaging,
that one.
Yeah.
Derby Preston. Let's go 4 in a row for Derby. 1-0. Just going to calculate that because that's game week 1 done. On to the next one. Blackburn, Middlesbrough. I'll do that one. 1-0 Blackburn, because I don't want to do a Coventry one. Coventry, Burnley, Gab.
0-1.
Brutal. You have got, Connor, Leeds again. Luton versus Leeds.
Luton 1, Leeds 2.
Lovely stuff. West Brom, Sunderland. Let's go for a home win on that one. 2-1 West Brom. Bristol City, Watford, Gab.
I'll go 1-0 to Bristol City.
Lovely stuff. Millwall, Portsmouth.
0-1.
That brings me to Oxford, Sheffield United. It's got to be another away win. 1-0 Sheffield United. Plymouth, Norwich, Gab.
Plymouth, Norwich. I will go for 1-0 to Plymouth Argyle.
Ooh, lovely stuff. You really are concerned about Norwich. Connor, Preston, Stoke.
1-0 Preston.
You hate Stoke. Absolutely hate Stoke. QPR, Cardiff, 1-1. Sheffield Wednesday, Hull, Gab.
Sheffield Wednesday, Hull. I will go for 0-2.
Massive. Swansea, Derby.
2-1 Derby.
2-1 Derby. I mean, again, massive. That's 5 wins in a row for John Eustace, we're predicting. Next game week, Blackburn, Sheffield Wednesday. Ooh, I'm going to sit on the fence again and go 1-1. Bristol City, West Brom, Gab.
Bristol City, West Brom.
That's a big one.
1-1.
And he's sitting on that fence. Norwich, Sunderland.
2-1 Norwich.
2-1 Norwich. Preston, Cardiff. Oh, stinker. 0-0. Let's have a 0-0. Sheffield United, Millwall, Gab.
Sheffield United, Millwall. I will go for 1-0.
1-0.
Millwall. Connor, Stoke, Luton. I've put the pressure on you now.
2-1 Stoke.
There you go, he's buckled. Watford, Hull. Let's go for a 2-2. Derby, Burnley.
Derby, Burnley. 1-0 to Derby.
6 in a row for Derby, we're predicting. Middlesbrough, Leeds. I don't know how they keep landing on you, Connor, but they do.
2-2.
Oof, drop points there. Drop points. Oxford, QPR. Let's go for a 1-0 home win. Give Oxford a win. Swansea versus Plymouth.
Swansea versus Plymouth. I will go with 2-1 Swansea.
2-1. And Coventry versus Portsmouth.
2-2.
2-2. Lovely stuff. We are getting through this. The table is updating on my screen and it's looking interesting already. Burnley, Norwich. Let's go for a 1-0 again. Leeds, Preston, Gab.
Leeds, Preston, 2-0 Leeds.
Connor, Plymouth, Sheffield United. Heart or head?
0-2.
Head wins. Cardiff, Stoke. I've got more faith in Stoke than you do, Connor. I'm going for a 1-0 away win. Luton, Blackburn, Gab.
Luton, Blackburn. I will go to 1-0 Luton.
Lovely stuff. Millwall, Middlesbrough.
2-1 Millwall.
Portsmouth, Derby. I will go Fratton Park to end the winning run. 2-0 Portsmouth. QPR, Bristol City.
QPR, Bristol City, 0-1.
0-1. Sheffield Wednesday versus Oxford.
2-0 Wednesday.
Sunderland, Swansea. I will go for 4-0 Sunderland. Let's have some goals. West Brom, Watford.
West Brom, Watford. I'll go 5-1 to West Brom.
We're getting a bit carried away here. Hull, Coventry, Connor. Can you follow that up?
We'll go with a 0-2 Cov.
There we go. Interesting stuff. We're into the final 4 game weeks here now. Starting with Blackburn, Millwall. Let's go for a 1-1. Bristol City, Sunderland.
Bristol City, Sunderland.
Another big game.
1-0 Bristol City.
Okay. Another big game for you, Connor, for the playoff race. Coventry, West Brom.
2-1 Cov.
Stuff. You can come back. Derby 1, Luton 0. Middlesbrough, Plymouth.
Middlesbrough, Plymouth 1-2.
1-2. Watford, Burnley.
1-0 Burnley.
It nearly got me there. I nearly put it in as a Watford win. Norwich, Portsmouth. Let's go for a 2-2 in there. Oxford, Leeds.
Oxford, Leeds 0-0.
Preston, QPR.
1-0 Preston.
Okay. Sheffield United, Cardiff. They won't drop points there. 3-0. Stoke, Sheffield Wednesday.
Stoke, Sheffield Wednesday 2-1.
2-1 Stoke. And Swansea, Hull.
0-2 Hull.
Lovely stuff. And we are into the final 3 game weeks.
0-0 Oxford Leeds.
Yeah, Gary, right outside, mate. Rigid defensive solidity.
Gab, I'm going to let you do this one because I don't want to. Burnley, Sheffield United.
Burnley, Sheffield United.
Or should we make Conor do it?
0-0.
That's what I'd have gone for.
You happy with 0-0? We'll go
Yeah.
0-0 for that one. Really on the fence. Do Cardiff, Oxford for me, please, Conor.
0-1 Oxford.
Oxford. Hull, Preston. Let's go for a 1-1 there. Leeds, Stoke.
Leeds, Stoke. 4-0 Leeds.
Yeah. Luton, Bristol City.
2-0 Luton.
Millwall, Norwich. Let's go for a 1-2. Give Norwich a win there. Plymouth, Coventry.
Plymouth, Coventry. I will go for 1-1.
1 there. Portsmouth, Watford.
2-2.
2-2. QPR, Swansea. Let's go for a 1-1. Sheffield Wednesday, Middlesbrough.
Sheffield Wednesday, Middlesbrough. I'll go 4-3 to Sheffield Wednesday.
Yes, Gab, come on. Sunderland, Blackburn.
3-0 Sunderland.
And West Brom, Derby. Feels like a big game. Let's go 1-0 West Brom into the final 2 game weeks.
Oh, God. Gab's killed us anyway.
As it stands, there's 2 teams level on points at the top of the league.
Oh.
Our Leeds, one of them. Blackburn, Watford. Let's go for a 0-0 there. Cardiff, West Brom, please, Gab.
Cardiff, West Brom. I will go for 1-0 to Cardiff.
Yep. Hull, Derby.
Hull 0 Derby 2.
Stuff. Leeds, Bristol City. It's at Elland Road. 3-0.
Oh, big win.
Luton, Coventry.
Luton, Coventry. 1-0 to Luton.
You're a disgrace. Middlesbrough, Norwich.
0-0.
0-0 for that one. Millwall, Swansea. Let's go for a 1-0 to Millwall. Oxford, Sunderland, please, Gab.
Oxford, Sunderland. 0-0.
0-0. You think you back Oxford a lot at the Castle. Preston, Plymouth.
Preston 1, Plymouth 3.
Nice, like that. QPR, Burnley. Ooh, yeah, they'll get the job done. A 2-0 away win. Sheffield Wednesday, Portsmouth.
Sheffield Wednesday, Portsmouth. 0-2.
0-2. And Stoke, Sheffield United. Oh, he doesn't hate Stoke now, does he?
0-1 Sheffield United.
Into the final game week. And we have Bristol City, Preston. Let's go 2-0 Bristol City on that one. Burnley, Millwall, please, Gab.
Burnley, Millwall. I will say 1-0 to Burnley.
Coventry, Middlesbrough.
2-0 Cov.
Derby, Stoke. Go for a 1-1 there. Norwich, Cardiff.
Norwich, Cardiff. I will say 2-0 to Norwich.
Lovely stuff. Conor, Plymouth, Leeds. On the final day. It's a
Plymouth 0, Leeds 4. Big day.
It's a difficult place to go, home part, to predict a 4-0 win. Portsmouth 1, Hull 0. Sheffield United, Blackburn.
Sheffield United, Blackburn. I will go 3-0 to Sheffield United.
Lovely stuff. Sunderland, QPR.
1-1.
1. Swansea, Oxford. I'll go for an away win there. 2-0 Oxford. Watford, Sheffield Wednesday.
Watford, Sheffield Wednesday. I will go with 1-2.
2. And finally, West Brom versus Luton, please, Conor.
West Brom 0, Luton 1.
Thank you very much, both of you. Calculate that table up. Thank you very much for sticking with us while we did
Are
that.
Oxford winning the
way
league?
as well. I can run through the table now, and you guys can see it on your screen down below, just to tell. Obviously, Gab and Conor, 2 teams finish with 100 points at the top of the league, and Leeds United win the league, Conor. Despite that 0-0 at Oxford, Sheffield United in second. Burnley finish on 97 points, apparently in third, is what we've got. Sunderland fourth on 80. Coventry on 71. Bristol City pip West Brom to the playoffs, 70 points to West Brom's 68. Norwich then a drop down to 61 points. Norwich and Sheffield Wednesday I don't know what's happened here, but Portsmouth are in 10th on 60 points. Blackburn are 11th on 58. Millwall, Middlesbrough, Watford, Preston, Derby County up to 16th on 54 points. Oxford, QPR, Hull on 50. And then the relegation battle. Stoke, we've got surviving 49 points. Swansea in 21st. 48 points, which means that Luton go down with 48, Cardiff go down with 47, and Plymouth finish bottom at 44. What do you make of that? I think we've done all right there. Gab?
I'm not sure. I feel like Portsmouth...
Sunderland should be in the top 5.
I feel like Portsmouth we've kind of overestimated maybe a little bit.
I don't know what happened. Did we just get carried away at Fratton
Where
Park?
did Oxford finish?
Oxford 17th for 54 points. So
felt like they picked up quite a few draws and wins there, didn't they?
Yeah. Luton going down, and we're not backing Swansea. I think we've got Swansea to get maybe 4 more points for the rest of the season. Which
So did any of the top 3 lose any games?
How many games have Leeds lost right now? Because they've lost 4 on our predictor.
Okay.
And they've lost 4 in real life.
Well, they lost home to Burnley in September, didn't they?
So I don't think
So we've got Leeds to draw twice.
So we haven't got Leeds to lose another game. I think the only one there was maybe Burnley to lose 1.
Do we have Burnley losing a game?
Burnley have been on 3 losses now.
Yeah,
so
we got Burnley to lose a game.
And Sheffield United, I don't think, are losing a single
Sheffield
game.
United.
Either.
So we're going Leeds and Sheffield United to go unbeaten for the rest of the season.
Right, okay.
On their way to 100 points.
But it is determined by that game at Turf Moor, really, isn't it? If it's 3 points separating and you got them as a 0-0.
You put a 0-0 down, so if it had been 1 goal
well.
either way. And how about that playoff picture as well? Bristol City just edging West Brom. I mean, I can see it, Gab.
Yeah, I think so. I'm Bristol. I think West Brom have a very high ceiling, though. If you're asking me now, I would go with West Brom with Coventry finishing in the playoffs. But Bristol City have been in great form, haven't they?
And Conor, I'll get you to predict this playoffs that we've predicted. So it would be Burnley versus Bristol City in one semi-final, and Sunderland versus Coventry in the other.
Burnley win it. Yeah, Burnley win the playoffs. I think Burnley beat Bristol City, and then the other one would be
Sunderland Coventry.
Cov get through. And then Burnley beat Cov in the final.
I honestly can't.
On penalties.
It's 3 years in a row losing on penalties at Wembley. My bank account won't help thank me for that. And Gab, let's just finish with talking about the relegation picture there. We've got Plymouth, Cardiff and Luton going down. Luton, what do you reckon right now?
I'm so confused by the relegation battle, Simon. I think the thing is with Luton that if you look at their recent performances, they lost 4-0 at Burnley, but that was after they had a man sent off after about 19 minutes. Other than that, they've beaten Portsmouth 2-0 at home. They got another victory at Cardiff, which was crucial. They played all over Middlesbrough and just couldn't get that goal. And they've just been that little bit, missed that little bit of sort of composure in front of goal. People like Elijah Adebayo, who have scored lots of goals at this level previously, just lacking that bit of confidence. So that's a problem for Luton. But I think performance-wise, the last few games, they've actually lifted things. But whether it's going to be enough, that's the big question.
And Cardiff?
Cardiff, I think they might go.
Yeah, so do I.
That's how I feel about Cardiff right now. I think if you look at those teams near the bottom, I think we've pretty much nailed it with Stoke and Hull. Stoke in particular, I think, will just edge it. I know you're a big Stoke hater, as I'm painting you out to be, Conor. Is that how you're feeling right now about Stoke?
Yeah. I think they'll just edge it. Just enough quality to get out of it. And I think Hull's away form might keep them up. They've been pretty excellent away from home. So, yeah.
And Portsmouth winning every game from now to the end of the season. So good news there, Portsmouth fans. Right, let's wrap it up there. The good news is, Leeds United fans, you have nothing to worry about. The title is coming to Elland Road. 100 points. Chris Wilder also going up in second, and we're having Burnley to win the playoffs as well after getting 97 points. Unfortunately for Luton, Cardiff and Plymouth, it's League One for you next season. Gab, thanks as always for joining me. Conor, thanks as always. I'm glad to have some good news to bring you as well. Welcome back anytime. Make sure you like and subscribe, and get in the comments down below how you think we've done with our predictions and whether you think Leeds will indeed win the league. That's all for now. We'll see you next time on The Sportsman Untitled.